Welcome to Hannity. And tonight we are nearing the end of Zoran Marxist Kami Mamdani's favorite holiday, which of course is tax day. Democrats are celebrating new ways to take more of your hard-earned money. Take a look.
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city.
Yeah, but forget about those free buses I told you about. I didn't actually mean that. We'll have more on the Democrats' tax streams coming up and the mass migration out of those states. But first, a message to all the idiots, both at home and abroad, now rooting for our country and our president to fail. We win, you lose. The S&P just closed at an all-time record high. NASDAQ also hit a new record. The average American tax refund is now up roughly 10%. And the U.S. blockade on Iranian ports is reportedly now sending, well, let's see, bringing Iran's terrorist government to a breaking point very quickly, all while Republicans remain almost entirely unified behind the president's campaign in the Middle East. We have a lot more on this coming up, plus the latest fallout from Democrats and their friends in the legacy media mob who are now trying to move past the heinous Eric Swalwell allegations without any accountability. Eric who? I never heard of Eric. Eric who? I don't know. Eric? He's running for governor. He's a congressman. Never heard of him before. But, of course, we begin with a clear, unmistakable warning from U.S. Central Command to any ship attempting to navigate through the Strait of Hormuz in Iran and around Iran. Take a look.
The U.S. has announced a formal blockade of Iranian ports and coastal areas. This is illegal action. All vessels are advised to immediately return to port if leaving and discontinue transit to Iran if that is your next port of call. Do not attempt to breach the blockade. Vessels will be boarded for interdiction and seizure transiting to or from an Iranian port. Turn around and prepare to be boarded. If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force. The whole of the United States Navy is ready to force compliance.
Now, as we speak, Iran is feeling the pressure of the U.S. naval blockade. Tonight, there are reports that the terrorist regime might soon be unable to pay its own military and other government employees. Also, its central bank might literally run out of money. Hyperinflation is already a huge crisis and is set to get even worse with 180% inflation levels. And tonight, President Trump is giving Iran's leaders, whoever they are, whoever might still be alive, a preview of coming attractions. What is happening now, this is what will happen if they refuse to accept the president's terms. No more, no less, because in less than an hour, the U.S. could completely wipe out Iran's entire oil industry on Kharg Island. Wipe it out and take away their main source of revenue. This is an oil economy, and it would take it out for decades to come. Now, of course, today, President Trump has shown tremendous restraint, and according to my sources, the president is now himself directly involved in negotiations as it relates to Iran, and he is speaking with these leaders. He is speaking boldly with zero ambiguity, not being subtle. Not exactly the Trump way. Now, there's no doubt Iran's government knows exactly what their dwindling options are at this hour. Give up their weapons-grade uranium. That's 1,000 pounds, 460 kilograms, and all future nuclear ambitions. Stop, of course, fomenting terror in the region. Clear the Strait of Hormuz, or lose all oil revenue and lose your economy, and then face a population that is not getting paid and will have nothing to lose moving forward. Now, frankly, there really isn't much to negotiate. Iran either comes to its senses or they don't. They can do it the easy way, they can do it the hard way. President Trump remains optimistic, and he is dedicated. He wants peace wherever, whenever possible. But the belligerence, the arrogance from Iran's evil leaders, it just continues. Now, tonight, 4 more innocent protesters, they have been sentenced to death in Iran, including, for the first time, a woman who is accused of throwing objects at Iran's military thugs. Anyway, here are the full report from the Middle East tonight. We start with Greg Palkot. He is in Tel Aviv. Greg, thanks for staying up. What's the latest there?
Sean, with that U.S. naval blockade against on the Strait of Hormuz holding, there's more talk about talks between Iran and the United States. Pakistan's army chief arrived in Tehran reportedly with a fresh message from the White House on what it wants from the country. There is speculation about another face-to-face meeting between the two sides in the coming days. Administration says it feels good about the prospects of a deal to end the fighting, but if it doesn't work out, they've announced the threat of new sanctions against Iran that they call the financial equivalent of the bombing campaign. Meanwhile, that blockade of ships, yes, leaving Iranian ports, making their way through the Strait of Hormuz to the Gulf of Oman, is wrapping up its third day. Central Command says it's completely halted all targeted vessels. 10 ships have been intercepted and turned around, including one that tried and failed to dodge the Navy. Iran is threatening to hit regional trade in response. As the U.S. military keeps pouring in manpower and hardware, over 10,000 troops on board yet another aircraft carrier and amphibious vessel group coming here, joining tens of thousands of service members already involved in the overall mission. And Israeli forces continue to pound Iran-backed Hezbollah terror targets in southern Lebanon. Amid some reports, there could be a helpful ceasefire there. Israel is united with the U.S. on the Iran front, including those Iranian nukes and the Strait. Here is what Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said today.
Our goals and those of the United States are identical. We want to see the enriched material removed from Iran. We want to see the cancellation of enrichment capabilities within Iran. And of course, we want to see the opening of the Strait.
Sean, the ceasefire involving the U.S., Israel, and Iran expires in less than 1 week. While the White House is downplaying it, there is talk of a 2-week extension if peace needs a little bit more of a chance here. Back to you.
Well, I would argue the clock is ticking. The president said today also that he thinks this will end very quickly. That's either the hard way or the easy way, not complicated. Anyway, Greg Palcott in Tel Aviv tonight. Thank you. Here with more. White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller, the one and only, is with us. It really is simple. This president, if you just listen to him, he tells it like it is. You either do it the hard way or the easy way. You either give up your 60% enriched uranium the easy way, or we'll take it. You open the Strait of Hormuz, or we will open it for you, and we will destroy your economy, as we are currently giving them a preview of coming attractions with the, blockade. So far, they always pick the wrong door. Door number one, door number two. They always pick the wrong door.
President Trump is a man who doesn't bluff. He is a man who follows through on what he says, who acts in every case with courage, resilience, determination, vision, focus, and direction. He warned Maduro. Maduro did not heed those warnings. And now look what happened. Look at the operation that took place in Venezuela. He warned before Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer happened because the Iranians did not heed those warnings. Before Operation Epic Fury, he gave Iran a chance to do the right thing. They declined, and they sustained the greatest battlefield defeat, thrashing, military annihilation we've seen in modern history. Then, after the ceasefire, President Trump said, make a deal. The Iranian terms were not satisfactory, and so President Trump flipped the tables on Iran and implemented this naval blockade. And with this blockade, President Trump is resetting the entire global order, because he is saying, with our Navy, we can decide, and we alone can decide, how rogue regimes are able to finance themselves, how they're able to operate. That's the power of American naval might, Sean.
Do you agree this is a preview of coming attractions, that the president is showing the Iranians, whatever tier of leadership is left, that you will not have an economy, and it probably would take our military, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, maximum 3 hours to wipe out Kharg Island, which would wipe out their entire economy. They're getting a taste of it now. So I would think that common sense at some point has to prevail. I am told the president also is engaged personally now on the issue, and he is being blunt, like only Donald Trump can be. Can you confirm that?
Yes, well, I can confirm that President Trump is very much involved in negotiations as commander-in-chief, along, of course, with the negotiating team that he assembled that has done such an incredible job to this point in time. And he's been clear. President Trump is a man of peace. President Trump wants peace. President Trump wants stability. But President Trump has also been clear America will not be trifled with, America will not be bullied, and America will never, ever, ever be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. Not now, not ever. And he has made that crystal clear, painfully clear to the Iranians. And so, yes, to your point, as President Trump has said, the United States has all of the cards. Iran has none. A military operation could wipe out their energy infrastructure for generations. He's made clear he doesn't want to do that. He wants Iran to choose the right path to make a deal. This embargo is squeezing the economic life out of the Iranian regime, and the United States has the capacity to continue this indefinitely if Iran chooses the wrong path. President Trump knows something else. He knows that American oil is the most important currency in the world, and that is why when he came into office, he unleashed American energy as never before, and that's why you see all of these ships coming to America empty and leaving laden with American energy.
Do you agree with me that the odds of a reconfigured NATO or America pulling out of NATO are very high as a result of our so-called allies not even offering a little support as we take on a nuclear-armed Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror? I think their response has been repulsive.
It's been incredibly disappointing, and President Trump has spoken about this problem for years. First of all, a nuclear-armed Iran, an Iran with medium-range or long-range ballistic missiles tipped with nuclear warheads is a direct threat to every capital in Europe. We are doing this not only in defense of America, but in defense of the free world. And NATO doesn't want to help. NATO doesn't want to assist. The same NATO that the United States has been subsidizing with our taxpayer dollars for generations, the entire European welfare state was built off the backs of American military might. We invested in our military while they invested in their welfare state and their long weekends and their long holidays, all paid for by us, by our soldiers, by our Marines, by our airmen, our sailors. And President Trump has said the free ride is over, Sean. But the most important thing right now is seeing this mission through to completion. And again, President Trump has made clear he wants peace, he wants a deal, he wants Iran to choose the right path, but he will not allow Iran to pursue or achieve nuclear weapons. And this embargo and every other option is on the table as President Trump seeks that final, safe, secure outcome for the people of the world.
All right, Stephen Miller, thank you for joining us tonight. Now let's turn to Capitol Hill, where Democrats have once again been exposed. Now, for years, it was an open secret that former Congressman, Mr. Fang Fang, as we affectionately call him, Eric Swalwell, was a huge creep. In fact, the Fang Fang scandal alone was enough to discredit Swalwell, frankly, forever. I hope they release those files. Remember, he got caught purportedly hooking up with a Chinese spy. But according to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, many in Washington knew about much more than the Fang Fang saga. And yet everyone, they just turned a blind eye. They decided to look the other way. He is a Democrat while promoting the creepy congressman as a rising star in the party. And this includes woke, late-night, so-called comedian. He's not funny. Jimmy Kimmel. Take a look.
I love California. It's the greatest country in the world.
Country?
Greatest country in the world. But that's why it pisses me off to see Californians running through the fields where they work from ICE agents or troops in our streets.
It's horrifying.
It's horrifying. So I've been in these fights as a city council member up in Dublin, my hometown, as a prosecutor in Oakland, and taking on the most corrupt president ever in the U.S. Congress. But I'm ready to bring this fight home. So I came here tonight, Jimmy, to tell you and your audience that I'm running to be the next governor of California.
Now, even Stephen Colbert promoted Swalwell. Take a look.
You've been very critical of Donald Trump, as you have been tonight, but in the past, you've called him a wrecking ball, you called him a Russian agent. You're a congressman. What can you do to try to fix what you see as wrong with this country?
I've already done a lot, but I can do more. I've been in Congress for 6 years. I've defended our country from the Intelligence Committee while democracy's been on the ropes. And none of that is going to change until we get a leader who is willing to go big on the issues we take on, be bold in the solutions we offer, and do good in the way that we govern. I'm ready to solve these problems I'm running for president of the United States.
That's official.
Thank you. It's official.
Now it's official.
Boy, did it feel good to say that.
Now it's official.
Yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations.
And by the way, it was funny, AOC, if it was a Republican, she would have gotten off her bicycle. She would have been before every television camera on Capitol Hill, and she'd be on the House floor screaming bloody murder. But it's not a Republican. Here with reaction, author of the big new novel, Purple State, co-host of the hit show The Five, our friend Dana Perino is back. You know, I thought about the title of your book, and I thought, okay, we do have blue states, we have red states, and we have states that we call purple states. Fair enough. How do you reconcile those that don't want to defund Department of Homeland Security, don't want to fund ICE, want defund, dismantle, no bail laws, reimagine the police, voted for the largest tax increase in history when they could have voted for the largest tax cut, are dead set against President Trump getting rid of nukes in Iran? How does a purple state exist? I mean, I know it doesn't have to do with your novel, but it kind of does, right?
Well, when you put it that way, I don't know who could be for it. I do think that the fringe on the left has all of the energy in the party right now. And I think that's one of the reasons that Eric Swalwell was protected. I don't know if they knew about the date rape allegations. Obviously, that has to go through an investigation and see. But it's pretty clear now that it was widely known that he was a pig, that he would harass women, especially young women who said, I would like to achieve something more in my political career. And he'd say, hey, have I got a way to help you out? Also, it's inappropriate, obviously, not just inappropriate, but it's illegal to have any relationship with congressional staffers. What's interesting, Sean, is I kind of forgot until you just showed that Colbert clip that he ran for president. But the fact that Nancy Pelosi never took him off the Intel Committee, however, she did not endorse him when he ran for governor. And that makes me wonder if perhaps she did know more.
I think he was kind of being braggadocious. I think he was referring to, this state of California as a country, you know, to talk about how great California is. If it was so great, they wouldn't have mass migration. I mean, it is now more severe than it's ever been with this new referendum coming up there. So really, there are two issues, Dana, that I see. One is who knew what and when. And number two, I listened very closely to the women that told their very, very vivid stories about being raped. And if I'm on a jury or I'm looking at any potential jury in any part of the country, I can't imagine anything but a guilty verdict. What were your thoughts on when hearing the brutality of what he did to the women?
One of the things that he said is that regret is not rape. And through his lawyer, he said that. So he has denied all of those allegations. But I agree with you. Like when you listen to the women, and especially if you're coming from the left, right, you listen to the women. That's what the whole thing was about during Me Too. There was another clip that you can play from him when he went after Brett Kavanaugh for allegations of women that never materialized. And it was just so outrageous. And you go back and you think, wow, he used that as his launching pad to then run for president. That's audacious.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about your novel, because you're a great writer.
Well, it was a new endeavor for me. I feel very humble about it. I admire the craft so much. I love to read novels. It's called Purple State, but the subtitle is Where Red Meets Blue and Love is Never Black and White. Some people might think that's not realistic in today's world. And of course, novels are aspirational. And what I want in this book is for people who read Everything Will Be Okay, which was self-help for young women. This is a fictionalized version where the bottom line is choosing to be loved is not a career-limiting decision, and to open yourself up to being willing to date somebody from the other side, regardless of their politics, and you might find love that can last forever.
Okay. I agree with your analysis of novels, and I like novels too. My favorite novelist is Taylor Caldwell, who passed away, but one of she wrote about Saul of Tarsus, The Great Lion of God, and Testimony of Two Men is another book. Bright Flows the River, in The Dark Night of the Soul, Bright Flows the River of God. I love novels. In this day and age, I lost friends because I support Donald Trump. Have you experienced that?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think that the best thing for me is that I wear my politics lightly. I love what I do. I love talking about politics. I love what we do as analysts. But politics is not who I am. I am here because God gave me the opportunity to have this life, and I want to live it to the best of my ability, and I want to love everyone.
I want to love everyone, but some make it really hard. But I aspire to be as good as you. All right, Dana, always great to have you. Congrats on everything. And you can get it on Amazon.com. We'll put a link on Hannity.com as well. Coming up, it is tax day. So, of course, Democrats, they are celebrating new ways to take more of your money. We'll explain, especially in New York City. Straight ahead. All right, for Democrats, it's a national holiday because it is tax day. And once again, they're showing just how much they love taking all of your money. New York Governor Kathy Hochul now proposing a new tax on New York City homeowners who own a second home worth over $5 million. Sounds like a lot of money. In New York, there's a lot of homes that are worth $5 million. I know it's crazy, but it's true. Now, Hochul's proposal was popular with the far left. Mayor Zoran Marxist Kami Mamdani, who celebrated on X, writing, quote, "We will be taxing the ultra-wealthy and global elites," before then releasing this very bizarre video. Take a look.
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city.
Also, when he ran for mayor, he promised free buses, but he's not going to be able to fulfill that promise. Now, with one insane tax after another, it is no wonder we are seeing people flee not only New York City, but New York State en masse, also states like New Jersey and Illinois, and, of course, California. But according to Marxist Kami Mamdani, we can't believe our lying eyes. It's actually just an imagined exodus. My leaving New York didn't happen. Imagine, I'm really in New York when I'm in the free state of Florida. No, I live here full time, and I have for years. Take a look.
And so for all of the discussion of the imagined exodus that would take place were we to tax the wealthiest New Yorkers by the appropriate amount, I say imagined because before I was a mayor, I was a state legislator, and I was part of an effort to increase taxes on millionaires at that time. We were told the same thing then. And what we find now is that we have more millionaires today than we did at that time, even after having passed that tax. And so for all of that conversation about this imagined exodus, we have to reckon with the very real exodus that we are seeing in the city, an exodus of working class people, an exodus of those who cannot afford to live here.
All right, here with reaction, Fox Business anchor, our friend David Asman's with us. So he mentioned in the video specifically Citadel's Ken Griffin. Ken Griffin's entire company now is in the free state of Florida, my state. If you look at, there are more, Morgan Chase employees in Texas than there are in New York. If you look at Florida, every big bank, every big private equity company, every big investment firm, Wall Street South is bigger than Wall Street, New York. So he can say this all he wants, and he singled out Ken Griffin. Ken Griffin doesn't need that stupid penthouse in New York. He can stay in the nicest penthouse in any hotel in New York he wants. If I was him, I'd pull out.
Right. Well, and of course, it always starts with these, we're just going to get the super rich, and then it comes lower and lower and lower, and eventually you're affecting the middle class. Marxists don't understand incentives. Incentives, I think, are the most important subject of economics. If you have positive incentives, it'll be good for the economy. If you have negative incentives, you'll have less business. It's not rocket science. It's very simple. Marxists don't understand it because they want to decommodify. That's the word that Mamdani has used. decommodify all private property. And that's what he's got in the back of his mind. I mean, he said it before. We don't come out right away and say what we really want. He's told his inner circle. He's on record. He was taped saying that he's for the decommodifying all private property. So he doesn't care about the private property. What he cares about is growing the government so that we can have more $81,000 apartments for the homeless. They're putting the homeless up in these luxury hotels in New York for $81,000 a year. That's a perverse incentive. That's an incentive that's drawing in people who don't want to work, who want to spend the time on the sidewalk. It's bad enough when they spend the time on the sidewalk, but it's even worse when taxpayers like us have to subsidize them in fancy hotels. So it's this inability to understand how important incentives are in an economy. When you believe in command and control, incentives don't matter. If you're the government, you just force people to do what you want them to do.
All right, David Asman, thanks for that report. Under President Trump, our economy is now thriving. The S&P 500 hit a new all-time record high today, while more than 53 million tax filers claimed at least one of President Trump's signature new tax cuts, the ones that Democrats voted against. Here with reaction, former Trump White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and Fox and Friends weekend co-host, our colleague and friend Charlie Hurt. Mark Meadows, begin with you. All right, so there are two new plans that are in the works for states like New York, Washington State, California, and the like. First, it's going to be a wealth tax. They have that referendum in California they'll vote on in November that will be retroactive to this past January. That's why Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Ellison, two of the co-founders of Google left. They now are in my state of Florida. Then the next thing they are proposing is an exit tax. If you want to get out from oppressive taxation, you are going to have to still, according to them, pay taxes after you leave. You don't live there. You don't get services. They want to pay you for leaving on top of Mamdani's 50% death tax. I mean, just for the city.
Listen, Sean, everybody would think that you're making that up, but the problem is it's reality. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they are actually moving from California immediately to the state of Florida. You'll find that not just with Florida, but other low-tax states. You mentioned it just previously, Texas, Tennessee, or others that don't have a state income tax. But here's the sad part about it. When you have to force people to stay in a state, instead of changing the policy, what they believe is that they will just take everybody's money. And quite frankly, they think that if you've earned it, you don't deserve to keep it, that the government should be able to claw it back and make it retroactive. Listen, I can tell you that Democrat-led policies like this not only don't work, but they are making everybody that's rational flee to those free states like Florida and Texas and Tennessee and others.
And your state of North Carolina, South Carolina is another one. You know, Charlie, let me just explain to people, when I left New York for good, and I left for good, it wasn't just 180 days plus, because that's a myth. They will try to, you know, try to say, well, which state are you more emotionally connected with? I had a list of nearly 100 items of things that I had to do to disconnect from New York and then connect with Florida as I began my journey down here. So there's no way they can ever come after me and win, because they chase people with a vengeance when they leave states if they have any income whatsoever.
Now, you know, what's kind of interesting about this, of course, is that what they're end up doing is destroying their own tax base. And given the fact that all that they really care about is money and power, or rather the other way around, power and money, they're destroying the goose that lays the golden egg. And they can look back and see that you know, the evidence is very clear that that's exactly what happens when people flee. But I have to say one thing, and I might get in a little trouble with you, Sean. You know, I've always sort of in my mind kind of liked the idea of the exit tax. I love the idea. The thing that I hate is when people who vote for these policies then move out to a state where they enjoy the policies that we all embrace. It drives me nuts. And unless you can prove that you never voted for somebody like Mamdani or any of these Democrats in California, I think an exit tax, I don't know, I kind of like that idea. I think whatever you voted for in California and New York should follow you everywhere.
You have lost your mind. You want to tax people that get no services from the state. What gives you the right to tax somebody that doesn't live or work in your state? You don't have any right to do that. That's called stealing. You want to empower the government to steal other people's money and then redistribute it and gain power.
Just don't come to my state. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
just
Charlie,
what is your state? I don't even know what your state is.
Virginia.
Charlie, you're assuming that
We've
100% of the people
by
voted
these people.
Yeah. Mark, what are you saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, I said, Charlie, you're assuming that 100% of the people in California voted for these crazy left-wing taxes, and they haven't. You got a vast majority, millions and millions of people in California. People don't realize that Donald Trump received more votes from the state of California than any other state, even though he lost it. So let's take the 6 million plus people that voted for him and let them leave California without an exit tax.
And all those rich people whose money they want to steal are taking their businesses and jobs with them. Okay, good luck with that. It's not ending well, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. Charlie, wow, you really disappointed me tonight. I have no idea what happened. All right, coming up, a preview of my new special on Fox Nation. It's called Radicalized. How much time are your children spending daily online? Next. All right, you've been hearing a lot lately about my new podcast, which you can subscribe to on YouTube and Spotify. And by the way, we've got a new episode coming out tomorrow that I'll tell you about later tonight. But recently, I also taped a new special for Fox Nation. It's called Radicalized. Now, you've heard me talk about how we live in a modern assassination culture, and this special is all about that sick, ugly, evil culture, the forces that have created it. We cover Luigi Mangione, Thomas Matthew Crooks, Tyler Robinson, and much more. Here's a sneak peek.
Hello, Butler, and hello to Pennsylvania. I'm thrilled to be
Go on the roof.
Take a look at what happened.
A shocking murder in busy Midtown Manhattan.
United Healthcare CEO has been fatally shot.
Gunmen opened fire on children praying at a mass in a Minneapolis Catholic school.
Bring the best libs that Utah has to offer. We're going to be here for a couple hours.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Charlie Kirk is dead.
Authorities are now identifying Thomas Matthew Crooks as the shooter in the rally attack.
The suspected gunman is now in custody.
26-year-old Luigi Mangione.
Authorities have identified this shooter.
Robin Westman, 23 years old.
The suspect has now been identified as Tyler Robinson.
All right, Radicalized out now on FoxNation.com. Joining us now is the director of the special, Franco Porporino, is with us, better known as Martin Scorsese Jr. Sir, well, first, it was an honor to work with you. I mean, you are a real pro, and you did all the hard work behind the scenes. We learned a lot, you know, as we put this together and collaborated on this. And what I learned more than anything else is there is a sick, toxic culture online, and kids are addicted to it, and they are reading nothing but poison, and they're not being supervised by their parents, it seems, ever.
That's absolutely true, Sean. First of all, thank you so much for being part of this very important subject matter, one that many people do not want to talk about. As you said, this documentary is a wake-up call for every parent in America and that is watching right now. Because when you think it can't happen to your child, that's exactly when it can. And like you said, Sean, this is a documentary. It's not political. It's psychological. It shows how young people today are being influenced, manipulated, and pulled into extreme thinking quietly behind closed doors and on their phones. And for every parent that's watching right now, Sean, parents think the threat is outside the home when in fact this is happening inside the home. For every parent watching right now, I encourage you, and I cannot stress this enough, your child could be in their room right now and you have no idea what they're being exposed to online. Pay attention.
You know, as you look at each individual kid, I mean, there are similar characteristics that they have. A lot of them are loners. A lot of them are a little bit of an outcast. A lot of them have been bullied. A lot of them have some type of psychiatric problem. There are plenty of signs that seem to always be missed, or they telegraph what they're thinking online and nobody pays attention.
And that's absolutely right, Sean. We highlight real cases in this documentary like Luigi Mangione, Tyler Robinson, Robin Westman, and Thomas Crooks. We will hear from Devin Arthurs, who is in his 20s, serving a 45-year sentence for killing his 2 roommates. Please watch this important documentary out now on Fox Nation.
All right, please watch it. It was an honor to be a part of Franco, or as I affectionately refer to him as, Martin Scorsese Jr. You're great to work with. We appreciate you being with us. When we come back, Tom Homan unleashing on the Vatican over their political meddling. Sydney Sweeney jeans ads are back. You know I'm a huge fan of hers? Because people hate her. We like her. Clay Travis next. Time for other news of the day. Amid the ongoing feud between President Trump and Pope Leo, Border Czar Tom Homan has a message for the Vatican. Stay out of politics. Take a listen.
I just wish they stick to fixing the church because there's issues. I know because I'm a member. And stay out of politics. I mean, I watched the Cardinals get interviewed in 60 Minutes. They don't understand. They think the Trump policy is inhumane and ICE is a rogue agency. President Trump has illegal immigration down 97%. I wish they sit down with me and hear my experiences the last 40 years. Maybe they understand why a secure border saves lives. A secure border is the most humane thing this country can do.
All right, now the Pope has made his stance on President Trump and the war in Iran crystal clear over the last few weeks. Even met with Democratic strategist, former senior advisor to Obama, David Axelrod, last week. Here with reaction, Outkick founder Clay Travis. You know, I want somebody to ask the Pope, do you want a nuclear-armed Iran? I want someone to ask the Pope, what about this regime slaughtering 45,000 people, terrorizing women and minorities? What about October 7th? I don't remember him speaking out about that. What about a mentality that says, if you're a young, vulnerable adult, strap these bombs, kill innocent men, women, and children, and Allah will give you 72 virgins in heaven. When has he ever spoken out? Where's the moral clarity on those issues?
Fantastic question. Let me build on that a little bit with you, Sean. I'm not an expert in Catholicism. I'm sure there's many people out there that are watching that are much better experts than me. But I would love to ask the Pope this question. Would it be better if North Korea didn't have nuclear weapons? I think the answer would have to be yes. What President Trump is doing is trying to ensure that Iran doesn't become North Korea. And regardless of what religion you happen to espouse, I think everyone involved in religion would agree that opposing nuclear war is something that is godly, which is what Trump is doing. And let me just also add this. Trump is doing this even though, Sean, he's not going to get most of the benefit. This is not a decision that's being made for 6 months from now. It's a decision that's being made for the next 20 plus years after Trump has been gone from the White House for a long time. You know who sees it? Bill Clinton, who has been calling President Trump and saying, you're doing to Iran what I wish I had done to North Korea. The world would have been better if Clinton had done to North Korea what Trump is doing to Iran right now. And I'm fired up about the fact that almost no one seems to be willing to acknowledge it.
Great point. And I think he needs to really think about what is the moral clarity here. And what if there is a nuclear-armed Iran? Will they use them? Does he think they'll use them? What about the history of terror? All right, moving on. American Eagle dropped a new jeans campaign today featuring the one and only Sydney Sweeney. It's called SID for short, and 100% of the net proceeds will go to charity to support mental health. Take a look.
What brand am I wearing? Yeah, that one.
American Eagle jean short.
All right, despite blowback from the leftover American Eagle's last ad with Sydney Sweeney, the company is doing something right because, according to reports, American Eagle, their stock soared 9% today, and it's just the first day. You know, I don't know why people hate her. I really don't. And I find it obnoxious, and it makes me want to support her, and I don't care what her politics are.
I agree with you completely. You know, Sean, where my job was when I was a teenager? American Eagle. One of the best jobs I ever had. All I had to do was stand around and sell clothes. I sold clothes. Pretty girls walked in like Sydney Sweeney, and I tried to get them to buy jean shorts or shoes or whatever. It's the best job I ever had. And look, as soon as this ad campaign started, you know who noticed? My teenage boys. They don't care about anything. They suddenly noticed. I said, this is going to kill. This is true, Sean. The stock nearly doubled since they started their Sydney Sweeney campaign. And as you just said, new version drops and it's up 9% today. It turns out that people like to buy clothes when good-looking people wear them. This whole body positivity era where they put a lot of fat people in spandex and tried to make you want to buy it, it didn't work very well. This is basic common sense, Sean.
I don't know. I think Clay Travis in a prior life was a jean model. I don't know. I'm kind of reading between the lines here.
American Eagle and Abercrombie and Fitch. Fun jobs, Sean, back in the day. Good teenager jobs.
Whatever. I did real jobs. We'll talk about that and compare notes one day. All right, coming up, we'll get to a lot more straight ahead. I guess we're just out of time. Clay Travis, always appreciate you. Don't forget Clay and Buck every afternoon, noon to 3, nationwide. When we come back, we drop a new podcast tomorrow featuring CIA whistleblower that you're going to want to hear from. Straight ahead. Programming note, a new podcast of mine, Hanging Out with Me, drops tomorrow featuring CIA whistleblower John Kiriakou. Here's a sneak peek. I mean, all of this is what really is fascinating because, I mean, if I had to go back and pick other careers in my life, I love what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. You know, just talking to you is a lot of fun for me, and hanging out with you and all the other people I get to interview and the experience I've had, I'd never give those up. Mm-hmm. However, if there's other things that I think would be really cool, being a spy would be right up there.
Frankly, I'm surprised they haven't approached you because of your
Oh, I think I have been approached. I'll give you an example. That's called a tease. Anyway, you can check it out on YouTube and Spotify. Fascinating interview, fascinating life. I think you'll enjoy it. You can get it on Spotify, YouTube. Don't forget, look at the search bar, click for Hanging Out with Sean Hannity, hit the subscribe button. That's all the time we have left. Please set your DVR so you never, ever, ever miss an episode of Hannity. News anytime, every time, all the time. FoxNews.com, Hannity.com. And in the meantime, I've got great news for you. He's funnier than Kimmel, Colbert, and Fallon combined. Greg Gutfeld's next to put a smile on your face. Have a great night with your families.